After 13 years of exposing lies in the media, I discovered the biggest lie of all. They want you to think racism is random, accidental, just bad people doing bad things. But what if I told you anti-Black racism was engineered, programmed like software, marketed like a product, and designed to survive across generations? That's exactly what I prove in my new book, Us versus the Machine, How Anti-Black Racism Was Programmed, Marketed, and Made to Survive. This isn't another book about what racism looks like. This is the blueprint of how it was built, who profits from it, and most importantly, how to dismantle it. I spent years connecting dots that they never wanted connected, following money trails that they thought were buried, exposing the machine that runs on our oppression. Knowledge is power, but strategic knowledge is liberation. Get Us versus the Machine on Amazon today, because once you understand the system, you can beat the system.
What if I told you there's a news platform made just for us? Unfiltered, unapologetic, telling our stories from Africa and the diaspora. The African Diaspora News Channel app keeps you informed and empowered from wherever you are at any time. Don't just watch, join the movement. Download the app now and stay connected to the news that matters.
Peace, family. My name is Vicky Dillon for African Diaspora News Channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am so pleased to be with you today. Family, just a little bit of a protocol here as you come in. Be sure to come in giving us a big thumbs up, thumbs up. Be sure to like and be sure to share. Yes. And for that, we say thank you so much. How many of you all know that in modern online media, when you do that, it helps to activate and generate notifications so that other folks will know that we are here? And how many of you all know that we are truly alternative Black media? So when you are intentional about sharing our message, you cause us to be a more fortified, a more solidified, unified voice for Black and African people around the world. Yes, talk Black to me, somebody. Family, boy, do we have a doozy. It's been a minute since I've been with you live, but be sure to check out my commentary throughout the week. I'm on several days a week, whether it's live or it's one of my other recordings. Be sure to check that out, okay? You don't want to miss that. Now, last week when we were together, I told you I was going to do a part 2, right? Now, if you recall, I was talking about Charlie Kirk's memorial, right? And this is not funny. I was talking about Charlie Kirk and family. How many of y'all know that his memorial, kind of was revealing? Now, most of us think that when we talk about memorials, when we're talking about, funerals and other such things, right? You would think it's a time, even if I don't agree with that particular individual or his stance, and Lord knows I don't. Nobody's going to be sitting there going to nobody's Klan rallies and stuff. Little shiny, embellished, modern day 21st century Klan rallies. But so we're not about that life. But you would think that other fellow Klan type folk would be talking about Klan stuff. But instead, they was talking about Rome and Greece. They was talking about caves, talking about they came up from caves. Now, this was Stephen Miller. How many of y'all know he's the deputy chief of staff for Donald Trump and stuff? Now, it was a devastation to, I know, MAGA folks, which MAGA is mad at Trump and the elite and all that other stuff too. But some of the folks in MAGA, I'm talking about whether you the trailer park, beer belly, Yankee style, or you an elite dressed up, but still, not about that melanated Black life. How many of y'all know that they all want to suppress the mountains? Now, if you want to know what I'm talking about, go check that out. This is not something I said. This was a confession. Like I said, I thought that the memorial was going to be about the memorial stuff with Charlie Kirk passing. Now, again, we wouldn't be there memorializing him, but I'm saying you would think the people there would be talking about him. No. They was talking about how they're going to use Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, as a rallying cry. She said a couple of days after the fact, that she's basically a warrior. She getting ready to lead something. Now, if some of you all don't know me, I'm known for giving care and training. How many of y'all know anything about Vicky Dillard doing care and training over many, many years? Now, I have been on different platforms, so some folks are upset with me because they be like, Vicky, it's been a minute since you have updated us on care and training. If time permits, I might get into a little bit of that. Now, I want to just go ahead real quick and do my follow-up, because remember, I promised you all part 2. That's why I'm bringing all this up. But at the same time that I told you all that I wanted to do a part 2 about how, I already talked about Stephen Miller's confession about how he was talking about they were the architects and the civilizers of humanity, and talking about Rome and Greece and all that stuff, and talking about how they came up from the caves, and talking about how the white woman helped to raise them up and civilize them and all that. And then he kept invoking Erica. And I kept telling y'all, no, ma'am. How you going to sit there and say she helped civilize y'all from the caves when she was in there with y'all? She was all the stuff to deliver you was in there. So I'm not sure what we're talking about. So we know that there's a reason he got into that. And how many of y'all know he kept invoking literally the word lineage for white folks? Now, like one of my supporters said, one of you all said to me, Vicky, notice them folks hadn't even been using the word lineage until we start using it. See, that's nerve-wracking for them. Because it might lead you down the path of their origin. Now, we don't even get into stuff like that, but what's going on? I'm telling you, that's a problem for them, because that's more of a reason for them to keep their foot on our necks. You understand? If you're worried about the darkening of the world and the end of oppressive rule in the United States and around the world, we're the first ones. Remember, Joe Biden said America was doomed because of us. Remember? Well, and then Joe Biden went on to say what? He said because white folks in America, they're going to be the minority come 2040. See, this is something that both Republican and Democrats fear. Don't forget that, okay? Now that I have made that point, I want y'all to get ready to watch this clip, because I told you I was going to do part 2. But before I'm going to finish out Erica, what's her name? They so forgettable. Erica Kirk, the wife. Now, remember, I told y'all all that stuff that the dude was, Stephen Miller was invoking her. She pretended like she cried. Well, no, she was crying. She was crying real hard when she found out the news. What? She was up there crying. Didn't nobody hand her a box of tissue. She got up there and talking about the evildoers and stuff, and they gonna regret it. And about her rallying cry, lifting up her voice. Now, I'm going to show y'all something real quick. Now, before we get to the first clip with the team, can we go ahead and let's do the second clip first, the one of Erica Kirk. Now, just to give you a little background, right after her husband passed, what you getting ready to see, family, brace yourself. Right after her husband passed, she done went on a podcast. She went on the podcast, and the podcast was obviously longer than this little few second clip. Y'all don't get mad. I'm making a point, but that's why we're keeping the clips real brief, okay? I'm gonna make a quick point to finish off part 2 from last week, and then I'm gonna connect the dots with something that this evangelical Christian national pastor of y'all Lord and Savior Jesus Christ said recently. Now let's play the second video, team, if we can do that, please, of Erica, Miss Erica here.
Have stuff from Korea and Japan that no one's heard of.
Podcasts.
So, I mean, in the words of my husband, buckle up, because there is a lot of content to be had. And we have so many amazing things down the pipeline that we are working on currently that will
unveil in due time.
I am so excited.
Yeah.
And so,
and by the way, those are things Charlie himself
that he wanted.
Okay, family, did y'all see that? Y'all, I wish I could see it in the second that y'all saw it. Watch this. Y'all, Did y'all see that? Now, I wanted to capture the energy. The words, yes, very important, but you cannot bypass the extraordinary energy. Now, Vicky, why did you show us this based on last week? Yes? Family, she done sat up there with the biggest, most glorious Miss Universe smiles. Can somebody put a crown in the chat? Can somebody put a trophy in the chat? Come back to me, somebody. Did you all see the sheer joy, the bliss, the pleasure that came out of her mouth, her energy? Now, let me tell y'all something. Now, I can't say that I've lost a spouse before in times past. But family, as a widow, there's not a twinkle in my eye. 5 minutes after the memorial, which of course she was all out of pocket with that too, because there's a lot of suspicious stuff going on social media about that too. Now, did y'all see the joy and the twinkle in her eyes? Look what she did. We have so many amazing things. Ma'am. And did you see she invoked her husband's name just to make it seem like that she wasn't as cold-blooded as we know they are? She said, as my husband would say, and then she quoted him right there. But watch this. Dude was so nervous. Watch this, y'all. Dude was so nervous that she was showing her true colors. Dude was so nervous that maybe she wasn't coming out looking like she missed him. Okay, I understand if you wasn't really grieving. Because let's be honest, y'all don't really be doing that, some of y'all. Tell the truth. Y'all be birthing them. How many of y'all seen my back-to-back broadcasts I done did over the years on the WKKK? How many of y'all remember I told y'all to go get the book? They Were Her Property. Remember I told you a Black professor wrote that book, and she did a whole bunch of research and compiled a whole lot of stats that showed in certain parts of the United States, white women own up to 40% of the slaves, and they fought some of their husbands in court to make sure that they didn't transfer a title of the slave to them. In that book, she denotes that the testimony of some of the formerly enslaved said that white woman was one of the most brutal at times. They said it was that Karen and stuff, Miss Ann and them, the WKKK and them energy. If you don't know, WKKK stands for Women Ku Klux Klan. That's a real thing. I'm gonna read you about it in just a second. I've talked to you all about that because I've told y'all, when y'all get enthralled and magnetized to their madness, that shows something is off in you. You got something to say about the Black woman all the time, but Karen, all she do is twinkle, and then she take you to torture with the twinkling of an eye. Talking about you worried about the mouth of a sister. She trying to save your life. At least the sister's expressing her hurt and anger. Girlfriend is smiling in your face so that she can go get that rope and figure out if it's going to be a pine tree or an oak. Read through the lines right there. The formerly enslaved said that she, meaning white women slave owners, they said that she oftentimes too set up the Black woman to be assaulted by the Black man and the white man. Did y'all hear what I said right there? That's why I told y'all I don't play with Karen and them. I don't care if we at the store, at the bank, and she go to acting a fool. One of my ladies asked me the other day, just real quick as a side note. One of my ladies said, Vicky, it's been a long time since you done updated us on this Karen stuff. We got a lot of new people that don't know who you are. If they did, they're not familiar with your teachings about how they get down like that. Everybody hit that thumbs up button, share, share, share. I said, okay, sis. I said, I got you. I said, I'm going to make sure. I said, I'm going to make sure to update you on the Karen training, family. I'm just going to give you a quick drive-by because I got to tell you about this WKKK real quick. I told y'all that every time you're in a store, bank, somewhere, that they like to show out if they come for you, especially like a sister. If I showed y'all this picture, I didn't have this ready the other day. I promise you, I was in a different city the other day. And I was doing a prayer at a park. This white, older Karen that looked like she was a senior citizen, but she may have been my age. 46. She might have been 46. Hard to know. Y'all, she saw me over there with some bags near this bench. She could not help herself. She got literally, y'all, within about 3-4 feet of me, wanting to know what I was doing with them bags by the water. Now, I could have went straight into what I'm not going to tell you I said first, but I just wanted to show you her my glory, so I showed her what was in the bag, and then I start saying this. Why you win, man? You just can't mind your business. Why you win, man? And I said some other words that y'all may not agree with ethics and stuff, morality. So she immediately fled from me. But when she fled, guess what she fled and did? She lifted up her hands to the sky with a middle finger and started waving it while she was walking away quickly, which that was in her best interest. I'm not violent, but you had no business being that close to me, girl. I said, y'all just can't, you just refuse. And she was so convicted. She started moving real fast, as she should. This was literally just the other day. Now, one of the things I told y'all, sister, if you in the bank or the store somewhere, she trying to set you up, like you done did something, like at the bank or something, she start bust out crying and stop talking about some calling for the manager and that you did something to her. And she started crying, and the manager brings you and the white lady over to their desk. I told y'all, when she started crying, you start crying too. Somebody sent me a video of a lady that went viral talking about that, and somebody tagged me, said, well, Vicky Dillon taught me this. Watch this. If Karen is over there doing this, I don't know her name, Shaquanda, Shaniqua, whatever. I was in the line. I was first. She got in front of me. The teller called her out, just took her out of line. I was there. I told y'all, we don't need to get rowdy like we're entitled to get. Don't nobody get to check us when we're done wrongly. But instead of doing it like that, let's trap her a different way. Karen is supposed to, Shaniqua. And if you're mad because I'm using those names and talking about their stereotypical, you're missing the point. I'm trying to use a name that's more typically associated with Black Americans family so that you will understand when you have those types of names and to invoke the type of individual that's there. It's not to negatively say anything about us. Some of y'all be thinking you so deep with stereotypes and you be missing the point. Let me get back in. So here's Kit. Shaniqua butted in line and she took my bag that was sitting there as well. I told y'all, when she go to, you go, and the manager gonna turn around, he gonna take his attention off of Karen while she's sitting there lying and crying. And they're gonna be looking at you like this. The manager gonna turn their head and do like this. And then Karen's gonna be like, and then after she took my bag, you're gonna say, oh! That's what you do. You don't talk, deny, don't do none of that yet. And then Karen gonna be shocked because she gonna be like, no, this blankety blank is. She gonna say that in her mind because she gonna be like, this is how I weaponize my tears. No, she ain't weaponizing the melanated tears. And then the manager gonna still be looking at you because the manager is gonna throw them for loops because they gonna be like, I'm not used to this. So the manager's attention is gonna be all the way off Karen. That's the only reason why she have power when she have attention. So because you're gonna take the attention, you're gonna be over on the corner. Remember y'all at the dance, you're gonna be doing this. The manager's gonna be like, man, what? And then Karen gonna be looking like, no, she didn't. You're gonna be like, I just cannot believe I'm being put in this situation. And then Karen gonna start, she gonna lift up her voice, she gonna start crying louder. And you're gonna say, ah! You go that funeral crying. And then all of it's gonna be over. Watch this. This is what you do. The manager gonna get you some Kleenex, and then you start dabbing with the Kleenex, and you're gonna start talking about your innocency. You're gonna talk about how you just cannot believe this. Karen ain't gonna have nothing to say because it's gonna be completely over for her. But this is what you're gonna do. This is how you're gonna end it. Sis, when you do that, you're gonna get your Kleenex. Where my Kleenex at? You're gonna get your cleanup. This is part of your caring training when you out and about running errands and stuff at the bank and stuff. When you get the cleanups, you're gonna do this right here. Look. Still at the end of the funeral cry. You almost done, but you lower the volume just about 2-3 notches. And then you look at the manager, you can say, Chuck, could you please get me a bottle of water? And Chuck gonna be like, is DeSante okay? Okay, let me stop. Let me move on. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's get up the WKKK article. I just had to throw that in there real quick. I got about 10 minutes left. Let's get the WKKK up real quick. Let's get the WKKK up. Watch this, watch this. That's how you have to do them carries. Modern day warfare. Because see, they weaponize their tears. See, she ain't got nothing on us. Tell black to me somebody. That's how you got to do in that situation. When it's a non-violent situation to where you don't have to physically defend yourself, you got to do that. And watch what's going to happen. Magic, black magic. A lot of black magic. Now, if we can put up the article real quick, team, where it says, first came suffrage. How many of y'all know that's the term that they use for white women getting the right to vote? Yes? Okay, I think we got it up. Look at this, y'all. First came suffrage. Then came the women of the Ku Klux Klan. Now, I know y'all got to be saying to yourself, wait a minute. How they go get from screaming and hollering with their husbands talking about they can't vote to the second they get the right to vote, they turn around and go oppressing black folks even harder. That's the point we're trying to make. What does it say? The WKKK, this is a subtitle. The WKKK, y'all listen, was independent of the Klan and just as committed to bigotry. One researcher says the 19th Amendment is what made it possible. Now, can y'all see this picture of them white women, these white women in the streets? This is a 1928 picture of them strong, real strong in the picture, in the streets. Y'all see that? I said, did y'all see that? The reason why they were screaming and hollering at their men because they didn't have the right to vote was because, family, they wanted to enact their right for persecution and oppression that left their men in the dust. They was telling their men, you don't know how to do it right. And they was exactly right. When you study the WKKK was an auxiliary of the Ku Klux Klan. They were considered to be more potent because it was through that white woman that bigotry, white supremacy, and anti-black oppression took hold throughout society in ways that them every now and then, terrorist attacks, the drive-by terrorist attacks, it didn't hold as hard. Theirs was more substantive because they infiltrated society. You understand? Let me read a little bit of this and I'm gonna show you this last clip. Y'all stand by because I want to show you this Christian past. I'm sure some of y'all heard about it. I know Brother Phil talked about it as well. Watch this real quick. I want to skip to the second paragraph. The first paragraph says misogyny is the lifeblood of racist movements, or that's one takeaway from sociologist Kathleen Blee's research into the women of the Ku Klux Klan, known as the WKKK, a hate group that formed in the 1920s independent of the men's Klan. The WKKK formed on the heels of the women's suffrage movement, itself rife with racism. Blee, a dean and sociology professor at the University of Pittsburgh, who researches extremist right-wing and racist social movements, authored the book Women of the Klan, Racism and Gender in the 1920s. I'm reading that part because I want you all to read up on that on your own if you would like another reference. I'm going to skip down. This is the part I want you to see. She says here that in it, she argues that the very expansion of white women's access to the franchise of white supremacy, y'all, laid the foundation for a hate group that was by women, for women, and of women. That's a part of their quote and the motto of the WKKK. They said the dusty masculines ain't doing persecution well. Y'all not doing oppression of black folks good enough. So this for us by ourselves. Losers. Are y'all listening? Some high-ranking, somebody say high-ranking. Some high-ranking WKKK leaders also chaired local campaigns for suffrage, and women's political opportunities expanded. Many felt their role in the Klan should too. Y'all, this ain't funny, but y'all see why I'm bringing this up in light of that clip that I just showed you from Miss Erica Clark, Miss McClurk. There's something to that right there. D. Clerk. Is that out of South Africa's apartheid? You see how they go in and out? That was a Freudian slip, y'all. The early 1900s was dotted with white symbolism and supremacy. White suffragist suits were not only designated for starkness, but to emphasize, y'all listening? I need y'all to not miss this. White suffragists, that's the white woman that was talking about they were suffering for not voting. That was the name of the movement, right? The right to vote. White suffragist suits, their uniforms, were not only designed for starkness, y'all saw that picture, right? But to emphasize femininity. This is what I gotta get y'all to see. When I be talking about Karen and them, don't you second guess me for nothing when I'm older than her. What? For their starkness and emphasize their femininity that many label suffragists as devoid of, undercutting them as mannish and ugly. So they was telling their men, baby, y'all KKK, y'all ugly. You uncool. You got to be cute with oppression. You got to be cute when you taking out the masses. You got to be cute when you shedding black blood. The color white, unmistakably, is also a symbol of purity. As Blee points out, Klan propaganda has a through line of protecting the purity of the race, but more explicitly that of white women who were baselessly, somebody say baselessly, depicted as at risk of assault. Somebody say basis. That's a cute way of saying lying. No facts, no evidence. As more black men were freed from the binds of slavery. Chartered officially in June 1923, I'm almost done, the WKKK embraced ideas of racial and religious privilege, but rejected the messages of white female vulnerability. Where Klansmen saw women as homemakers, WKK engaged around emphasizing what? The labor involved in raising children and maintaining the home, and also how to best use their newly bestowed access to the franchise, that's to say voting and politics. According to Blee, y'all ready for this? 250,000 white women joined the WKKK. Watch this. In the first 4 months, by the organization's own claims. I gotta stop. I want us to get ready to play the second video. Now, I gave y'all a little bit of information there. Again, as a part 2 from my broadcast I did last week. Be sure to check that out, the one I did on Charlie Kirk and them, right? And I had to show y'all how Erica got up there playing like she was grieving and stuff. And I reminded you all how Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff for the White House, sat up there and invoked her name a number of times to rally behind this white woman. And I showed y'all that clip today where girlfriend looked like she just came from a spa, got her nails and hair done. And the man that interrupted her, did y'all see that man that says, because Charlie would have wanted, he interrupted her because she looked too happy. She wasn't coming off like no widow. So even the man jumped in there to help with this acting. Allegedly. I want you to connect some dots here. And obviously tomorrow I'm going to be doing a part 2, but I want you to at least see the video today. Can the team get up right now for me the video of this white pastor who talked about what the role and the attributes of any black parishioner that wanted to join his church? Y'all watch this clip.
But even, let's say that somebody was coming into our church and they're black, and would they be eligible for membership in our church? Yes, they of course they would. They'd be eligible for membership in our church. But would they be permitted to participate in, embody, and practice what I would call black culture generally in our church? The answer is absolutely not. Why? Because the characteristics that mark black culture as a generalization, in the same way Paul's talking about Cretans on Crete, they are evil, murderous, violent, bestial people. They steal, they kill, they destroy. They look like Satan in how they act. They are sinful to the core. They have besetting sins that are like fatherlessness, sexual immorality. They molest children at a high rate. All of any criminal statistic that you could look at, almost pretty much without exception, they excel at them. What are the besetting sins and characteristics of it? And then you say, could somebody come in a lawful church membership embodying that culture? No, they have to self-consciously repudiate that culture. They have to leave it behind, repent of those sins. And not every individual practices those sins, but they could, by no standard, embody those practices and come into membership in our church. Of course not. So when we make this generalization, one of the purposes of it, one of the points of utility for it, is for Black people who do not embody that culture to repudiate it, hate it, and also for policymakers to make the kind of political movements and in terms of law and order that would usher in the change over time of that culture. One of them would be something like, I tweeted about this, the law of Moses in Deuteronomy 21 concerning a rebellious child. And the law was that if you had a rebellious son, you have a child they're coming up into their manhood and they're rebellious, they don't listen. He lists some characteristics and even though they're disciplined, they will not turn. He says the fathers to bring them out into the town square. This is a rebellious son, and then they stone him to death. They kill him.
And an armed robber would certainly be one of those.
Oh, absolutely. Armed robber, all the ghetto culture.
Violent crimes.
Basically, take ghetto culture, it would describe this to a T. If you did that over 3 generations, how much violent crime would you have in the 3rd and 4th generation? Much, much less.
Family. Come here real quick. I promise you I'll brush my teeth. Come real close to the screen. Come here. He talking about himself. He's talking about himself. He's talking about himself. Do you all see how Vicky Dillard is not triggered? Do you all see why this is connected to Stephen Miller's speech at Charlie Kirk's memorial? See, white people are mixing because they're inextricably connected. White supremacy, the Ku Klux Klan, the WKKK, which is all quote unquote Christian organizations. Their ideology, their policies, and their subconscious all in this. Now, I'm going to do a part 2 on this week, inshallah. Y'all stay tuned because my time is up. I threw that out there because I want you all to know that, of course, the KKK is said to be a strong, godly Christian organization. And this white man then sat up there and said that their culture is about bestial, and he invoking Paul, the apostle, in Crete. He was invoking the Old Testament and Moses. See, this is why you need a Vicky Dillard on this. Because I'm about to work you, baby, with the scriptures. I'm going to work you. This is the reason why I even do my special webinars and I break down the spiritual context. See, what you guys got to understand is even if you ain't a part of his church, even if you're not Christian, even if you don't believe in the Bible, you need to understand the ways of such individuals, the mindset, the ideology, the beliefs, because who goes to war without understanding the war book that the opposition is using? And I want to explain to you that some of you all that will still call him y'all's Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and you try to separate yourself from the inextricability of some of your all's similarities, how you try to separate that, I'm going to prove to you in no limited time how you can't. And they're making spiritual warfare over you. One of the things that Dr. Frances Cress Welsing told us in her book, The ISIS Papers, The Keys to the Colors, is that they are concerned about genetic annihilation. And because she was a psychiatrist, which means she was a physician, not a psychologist. Not only was it her book and her academia and her credentials that gave her this information and knowledge, but remember, a lot of her clients were white folks. She said to us that they both consciously and unconsciously, and I'm getting ready to go, consciously, some of them, and unconsciously, subconsciously, are fighting against this reality. So this is their projection and their obsessive need to violently take us out and to undermine us. That was what her book was about. And that is exactly what this statement is about. And the reason you're seeing more of this explicitly is because they feel that the clock is running. And when you're the Ancient of Days and the oldest people on the planet, you're just sitting back living. Y'all, I was on the timeline somewhere, and I think I saw Brother Fields, one of his videos came up that said about white folks being mad about black joy, them folks, black joy, just black joy. Black joy is troublesome. Black joy causes them the quake and the shake. Black joy. Somebody say joy. Black joy. Joy, peace, living, life. I'm going to give you part 2 on this tomorrow, or inshallah, later on this week. Yes, my name is Vicky Dillard, beloved. Make sure you tune in this week. I can't wait to see you again.